Oh, hi, Kevin. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome to the January 16th meeting of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I'm Kevin Kassir, your president, and good to see everybody here today. Wow. I sound better. All right, first of all, thank you to Kurt Johnson and Mala Trupp for being greeters today, so thank you, gentlemen. And we need a few more volunteers for some of our efforts during meetings, so remember to jump on and sign on online, or we always have that link in the newsletter, which makes it easy to do. And speaking of volunteering, I'm going to invite Bob Reed up to lead us with a moment of inspiration, the Pledge of Allegiance and the four-way test, and then we'll get an opportunity to greet everybody. So, Bob, you're on.
Thank you. So when Kitty called me and asked me to do this, I didn't actually volunteer. I got volunteered, which was awesome. There's probably a good reason. So as some of you may know, my father was a state trooper, and my mom, who ran the State Police Officers Council when she was retired, was named honorary trooper by the DPS. So we grew up speaking of State Patrol. So as you might imagine, I have a few stories. But the one I want to tell you is about an experience I had with my dad. When I first got out of college and was starting to make a little bit of money, I wanted to get my dad a nice Christmas gift. And I said, "Pop, what do you need?" And he pulled a real worn pocket knife out of his pocket, and he said, "I really need a better pocket knife. I need one that will lock in place and will always keep an edge." And I thought, well, all right. So I went to Galleon's up there in Minnesota, and I got him a nice Remington knife that would lock in place, and spent pretty good money on it. So a few days later, or a couple years later, I'm joking around with him as I always did, and he started he pulled out his knife and he started cleaning his nails. I thought, really, Dad, what do you need that knife for? You know, I spent pretty good money on that. And the smile went away, and you could just see the darkness come over his eyes. He said, "Bob, I'm the first person on an accident scene. I use this knife to cut people out of their seatbelts who need to be helped before the paramedics get there." When he passed, he gave me the knife. So, you know, I always thought of my dad as that, you know, that tough guy who got to drive really fast and caught speeders and bad guys. But that day I understood a little bit better what he did, and that he got to see broken bodies, and he really was able to help people. He was a servant and a lifesaver on top of being a protector. So now when I see that familiar patrol car on the roadside, I may have a different reaction than Maddie. I don't look down to see if I'm speeding. I remember my dad and all the men and women I met over the years in law enforcement, and I say a silent prayer for that trooper's safety and the strength to face the things they fear with courage and valor. And I hope you all will too. Say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the four-way test.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
few guests here today, so I'm going to introduce the guests and ask you to stand and remain standing, and then we'll acknowledge you all at once. First off, and our guest of the speaker is Sergeant Alex Dinkla, so please stand. We've got incoming District Governor Norlin Hinkey and his wife Cindy. And we have Steve Wheeler, the father of Todd Wheeler, and visiting from Montana. And we have Ahmed Shafei, a senior at Bard College and brother-in-law of Kashan. So, welcome everybody. There are a couple of birthdays in the club today. We have Tej Dewan, who isn't here, I think, but Carter Smith is here. So happy birthday, Carter. You're getting up there now. Next is Where in the World is Club number 27. And we were in the Eastern Caribbean. Chris Anderson and Shannon were there. So remember to check out our sign and take us with you on some exciting trip. I'm going to bypass the Did You Know today because I wanted to share with you, as we said last time, we're 6 months into this, and when we developed our strategic plan, there was a number of elements to it, right? We surveyed, we had strategic planning sessions, set action plans, set our pillar, and we also set metrics because we need to have a way to measure. We need a scorecard, right? So we're 6 months into this. I want to share with you how we're doing. First of all, and you're not going to see these numbers, I can see, it's too small. First of all is the income performance. So we had projected a loss, a pretty good sized loss, and the good news is we're about $4,000 or $5,000 better than projection. So costs are coming in good, and we're and doing a decent job with membership that you're going to see next. The next big item is membership. Our goal was a -5. Last year we had -11. So in that we had planned 20 additions and 25 losses. So far in 6 months we've added 10 and lost 13. So spot on the goal of trying to stay within that 5. And in fact, some of us on the board were chatting. We're hoping for more momentum in the second half of this year. So need your help with that. Percentage of women is staying right at about 27%. And then other metrics that we can check are what's the level of involvement, of engagement. And the way we do that is how many people are here on Thursdays. Well, last year it was 60. Our target was 63, about a 5% improvement. So far in 6 months, we're at 62. However, the trend is more positive. Last week we were over 70. Today we're over 70. So, yeah. So we're starting off the year well. Momentum is building. Keep on reaching out to other members who aren't here and let them experience some of the good times we were having on Thursdays. Another item is non-Thursday events. We averaged 6 last year. Our target was 8, and we're averaging 16. So more engagement outside the meeting. So really good numbers. I think it can get better, and with your help, we can do that. So now we are going to have a little bit of laughter, and we have Rotarians on the floor laughing, and we got Doug Saltzgaber coming up. Doug?
Thank you, Kevin. Well, some of you saw me earlier talking with Officer Dinkla here. Like Kitty and I, he's also from Guthrie Center, so a little connection there. And he told me there's some Rotarians in here that have had a number of run-ins with the state troopers. And he shared with me some of the interactions that transpired. Past President Don Flannery, he was pulled over and for speeding, and he said, I thought the I-80 sign meant the speed limit. Glad you didn't catch me when I was over on Highway 141 earlier. President Kevin. He got tagged for doing 54 in a 45. His excuse? It was his dyslexia was kicking in. Apparently that didn't go well. Past President Jamie Boersma. I don't know if many of you know, but she is a KU Jayhawk fan. She had a rather rough night last night. Not that I was paying any attention. She got pulled over and was asked why she was speeding. And she said, well, I was trying to keep up with the traffic. And the officer said, but there is no traffic. She said, well, that's how far behind I am. And then Dr. Jeff Stickle, he got pulled over, and he said, oh, just a speeding ticket. Whew, this is nothing compared to the other crimes that I haven't been caught with. My former neighbor, David Oman, who's got a little sports car, when asked by the officer, do you know how fast you were going? He said, well, not fast enough, you caught me. And then past President Sean Mullins got handed a speeding ticket. He said, what am I supposed to do with this? The officer said, keep it. When you collect 4 of them, you get a bicycle.
Well done. Now we'll have an opportunity to hear from incoming District Governor Norland Hinkey.
Thank you very much. Doug, I'm absolutely amazed that, we got 67 communities to visit, and I'm also working on a FEMA grant up in Northwest Iowa, so we put a few miles on. Cindy's my chauffeur. I am working on a get out of jail card free with the 2 guys over here. Or maybe I should say put her away for a week, but no, I gotta be careful. We've been married 52 years, so she's got a sense of humor. It's really my pleasure to be here. Cindy and I are president-elects, and so it's not typical, but we decided that we wanted to visit every club. Concept behind that is we get a chance to meet you when you come in, get to see you, get to know your face, get to know a little bit about you, and then sit through the club meeting and get to know a little bit about your culture. And Bob shared some of the culture and the successes he's led your club to. Right, Bob? No, he's bashful. I'm just putting him on the spot. But we really try to sit through and get to know the culture so that as governor, we got a better feel for what's going on. And it's just a pleasure to be here. I said to a couple, I'm a retired bank president and I'm working as a financial specialist, and I told you in the grant program, but I used to be on the board with Iowa Bankers, and gosh, it's been 35 years since I've had dinner up here, so the view's the same, but it's just as beautiful, Kevin. I appreciate being invited, Kitty and Kevin, thank you so much. And I promised the officer that I would not take more than 2 minutes, so I better sit down, but I do want to recognize a couple people. Stand up, Mr. Wheeler. This guy, when I was the Community Service Grant Chair, we brought him in, and he just does a fantastic job, and he's still the man with the district with the Community Service Grants, and still doing well, so thank you, guys.
Well, thank you, Nolan.
And he's a pleasure to work with, and I still say Steve looks like his brother, don't you guys think so? Yeah? Yeah? And there's a guy out there who we're going to have dinner with tonight. Stand up, Mr. Moraine. But past district governor and Erna and Steve have just become more than fellow Rotarians. They're friends, and we appreciate that a great deal. So in conclusion, I've got one thing. Come on, Will. Go for it here, guy. Now, Will said, would you introduce me? I want to start a new trend. Spin it around, do the GQ. Come on, Bill. Next week, we expect to see a whole bunch of the turtlenecks in here, right, Will? Thank you for inviting me.
All right, now invite Randy Worth to come to the podium to introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you, President Kevin. It is my honor to introduce to the club today Colonel Folk, Colonel Nathan Folk, the Chief of the Iowa Highway Patrol. Colonel Folk has been with the Department of Public Safety for 27 years. Started his career as a trooper in Solon, Iowa. His leadership history includes District 1 Assistant Commander, Assistant Tactical Team Leader, Honor Guard Coordinator, Basic Academy Lead Drill Instructor. I love this one. Sniper Coordinator and Instructor. I like it so much I forgot my place here. Professional Development Bureau Chief, Basic Academy Commander, and Area A Commander. As Tactical Team Leader, he instructed, he was an instructor on the ASP baton replacement to the nightstick, chemical deterrence, MACE, defensive tactics, honor guard, firearms, open sight rifle, and sniper certification and deployment. As chief of the patrol, his duties include providing leadership and strategies to support all members of the department, directs through the chain of command to efficiently and effectively achieve the patrol's public service mission, sets both short and long-term goals, and works to communicate with internal and external clients in order to provide quality law enforcement in a polite, courteous, and cooperative manner. And I highlighted that one because I think that's fantastic. Colonel Folk is a graduate of the Des Moines Area Community College, the Police Leadership West Point Model Training Program, is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, served in Operation Restore Hope, and has completed his enlistment as a Scout Sniper Instructor for the 1st Marine Division. I'm feeling really safe today. Please welcome Colonel Folk.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Randy and Kevin. We're super excited to be here. With me, I have Sergeant Alex Dinkla. He's our Public Information Officer for the Iowa State Patrol. He leads our media engagement and our community engagement on social media, and he does a fantastic job. So thanks for joining Sergeant Dinkla and promoting, public safety across the state of Iowa. We're honored to be here, and I was sitting here thinking about Colonel of the Missouri State Highway Patrol is retired at the end of the month, and I wanted to make sure I shared this with you. His name's Eric Olson. He's done 34 years of service, but we're getting a plaque prepared for him. The plaque says "Iron sharpens iron" at the end, and as I look around and hear the engagement, and it's inspiring to see the interaction that you're all having for the betterment of the community. So it's good to see that iron sharpens iron right in here and everything you're doing for the state of Iowa. I'm from Iowa originally. I was on the east and west coast, and I wanted to move back here and raise a family, and so my wife and I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and we really appreciate Iowa values and everything Iowa has to offer. If you have some questions during the presentation, feel free to raise your hand at the end. We'll have some time to answer questions. But we want to talk about really a reflection on our past. We're very culture-driven, some present insights and some visions for the future. Obviously, legislative session just kicked off. There's some things we're working on to promote public safety across Iowa. So as we get going, our mission began on July 28, 1935. So this year we'll have our 90th anniversary. And as I mentioned, the history of the patrol is very important to us. And 50 state patrol officers began their first day of service out here at Camp Dodge. And their mission stemmed from the tide of death and injury on Iowa roadways. And the motto was "Save Lives First." So this is a pretty iconic picture we have, we're real proud of. It's a picture of the first 50, several of the first 50 members of the Iowa Highway Safety Patrol out at Camp Dodge. We actually have a 1937, if you'd like to come by and see it, you're more than welcome, down at the DPS building. It's the Orrin Pape State Office building just southwest of the Capitol. But we have one of the original 1937 motorcycles down there on display. So we're pretty proud of this picture. You know, when you look at the history of the organization, Old Babcock Miller, known as Mrs. Alex Miller, was the Secretary of State. She's known as the mother of the Iowa Safety Highway Patrol back in 1935. This is John Hattery. He was the first chief of the Iowa State Patrol. So as I said, history to us is very important to the organization. One thing we recently did, we figured you would all be interested in hearing about, is we do restore vehicles to preserve the history of the organization. And so I was going to talk to you about the vehicles we have. So we have a 1935 Ford that we've preserved. We drive in the Iowa State Fair Parade if you've seen that. We also have a 1985 restored vehicle. And we have a 2006 Dodge Charger. We have an SUV. So we keep our fleet prepared to share with the public, and we take them every year in the State Fair Parade. Most recently, this is a 1979 KZ-1000P. This motorcycle is one of the few that the Iowa State Patrol had in the past, and it found its way over to Great Britain. And we located it a few years ago, and we worked with some local community leaders, the Iowa Heritage Foundation. We brought this KZ-1000P back to Iowa and collectively restored the vehicle. And so this is where it was over to Great Britain, and this is when it's fully restored. So we just took it to the Iowa State Fair in 2024, and it was in the Fair Parade, and we'll continue to share that history as we navigate. So if you ever go to the Fair Parade, you'll see our heritage vehicle. So pretty neat and exciting story there. You know, when you look at our mission and vision, and I want to mention your father, I want you to know that we're really proud of his service and the sacrifices he made to make our community safe, and the work your mother did for our union, and also the support she provided him as he did his job. So we're grateful and want to thank you for that today. With that, our mission and vision are very important to us. If we look at preserving lives, rights, and property through courtesy, service, and protection, and our expectation is that our personnel treat the public and as they interact very professionally in their interaction. One of our biggest priorities, as you know, is traffic crash and injury and fatality reduction. So I'm on a chair of a national committee. It's called the International Association of Chiefs of Police. We represent the North Central region, 12 states, including Canada. And so we meet 3 times a year and talk about traffic safety initiatives across the country. But something I wanted to share that was really astonishing to me this last year, we learned that across the world, a traffic-related death occurs every 23 seconds. Now that's worldwide. And so I'll talk about Iowa specifically. And so it's pretty alarming to think, you know, of all the deaths that we experience here across the world. Now I want to kind of get into Iowa specifically as we talk about current insights. So some people may not be aware, but we lost 354 lives in Iowa on our roadways last year. 354. We have a goal we put in place to try and get below 300. And we'll talk about some hands-free legislation we're working on, but we're really working hard to work the areas we need, address the issues at hand to make sure people get to and from their destination in a safe and efficient manner. Some things that are really concerning that we see, if you look at the statistics, it might be hard to see in the back, but unrestrained drivers, so those we lose in Iowa that do not wear their seatbelt, we're right about that 43 to 45% of total fatalities. So we really try to educate the public on using your seatbelts, buckling up, making good decisions, but it's alarming that about 44% of our fatalities from last year were not restrained. One thing we're monitoring really close is UTV, ATV crashes. You're seeing a lot more UTV, ATVs across Iowa, and we're seeing the crash rates kick up in that area, and so we're monitoring that closely. And then lastly, I would say a lot of our fatalities, typically we'll say about 70% of our fatalities are rural. So rural Iowa experience them. So we work with the Iowa Department of Transportation to look specifically at what are the trends that we need to address to move the needle in the right direction to save lives and prevent injuries. One story I want to share, a success story I just mentioned the other day. we work with the Iowa Department of Transportation on construction zone safety enforcement and having a presence in the construction zone. We put speed feedback signs up there so drivers know what speed they're coming in. We dropped that fatality, serious injury fatality rate by like 81% last year, so very proud of that. So we're doing a lot of data analytics, and we only had 2 fatalities last year in Iowa in construction zones. So that was a huge success for the state of Iowa. Excessive speeding, we joke. We'll sign a couple get out of jail free passes here before we leave. I love it. We're not exempt. We're not exempt. I've been stopped before and I've paid a citation here and there, so that happens. And I tell that story because it's the reality of the world we live in, and it's good to know. So one interesting thing, coming out of COVID, we've seen a lot of speeds, significant speeds coming out of COVID because the roadways were open, traffic volumes were down about 60%. So people felt like they could just, open it up and get going. So we've really tried to curb that behavior, all right? And I'll tell you, I'm just a straight shooter. We wrote like 77,000 speed tickets last year, okay? And I don't tell you that because we're proud of it. I took my son to Louisiana last year, and we're going to college. He played baseball at Louisiana State University, Eunice. They went on to win the Junior College World Series that last year. But I tell you this because I'm taking him down there. It's 10 at night. We've been driving 14 hours, and I get stopped for 9 over. I'm in Turkey Creek, Louisiana. Population 400. So local officer goes back, comes up, and my son's like, well, what's taking him so long? I said, well, he's writing a citation. He's like, really? I go, yeah, I earned it. So he came back up with a citation for 9 over the speed limit. It was $232. I called my wife. I said, hey, we got a citation, meaning me. So I tell you that because citations, they hold us accountable, okay? And I learned my lesson, and I got a citation for 9 over. So we don't write tickets to be difficult. We write tickets to curb driver behavior. And that's what we tell our troopers. We want to curb driver behavior, make it safe. So as you're seeing here, and it may be difficult in the back, but last year in Iowa, we wrote 1,154 tickets for over 100 mile an hour. So we're seeing the significant speed trends. We are doing some aerial enforcement with the aircraft, which is very effective. And then over on the right, you're going to see in December, these are our high speeds for the month. The highest speed was in January. We had a 164 mile per hour vehicle. And down through, in December was a slower speed, ironically enough, which is 127 if that's slow. But now we're dealing with some significant speeds. We're going to continue to address it. Writing tickets is not fun, I'll tell you. My personality, I'm very loving. I care for people. The last thing I want to do is issue a $250 citation, yet it's our job, and we try and do our best to maintain public safety. So just briefly on our initiatives, this came from Ola Babcock Miller, so a little history. They put the road hog, the drunk driver, the excessive speed, the unsafe cars. That was the vision 90 years ago, and so we really maintain that vision moving forward. We look at seatbelt compliance, impaired driving, distracted driving, excessive speed. So those are the things we ask our troopers to really monitor, because those are the things that are causing serious injury and fatalities on Iowa roadways. One thing is the professionalism, and I know you've seen it from your father. We have very high expectations of our people. We're not perfect, but we expect them to treat the public in a good fashion, good interaction, respectful. So I just want to throw this up here. We have core values: integrity, fairness, respect, honesty, courage, and compassion. And during our Core Academy training program, we ask them to memorize the definitions. And that's the one question I ask them towards the end of their academy is a core value definition. And we know integrity is uprightness of character, soundness of moral principle, truthfulness and honesty. So we want them to understand those core values and live them out as they do their job and interact with the public. So I just want you to know we have very high expectations on how our people interact with society and the public. We have a broad array of duties and responsibilities. I'm going to kind of go through this so we can answer questions, but we wanted to, Sergeant Dinkla and I, give you a perspective of a lot of different things that go on beyond the traffic safety realm. So we have, and I'll go down through these specifically. one by one here. So our air wing, we've got 5 planes across the state of Iowa. We do a lot of work at the football games, Iowa Speedway, to monitor traffic. We do aerial enforcement. We also have camera systems to find lost children and elderly folks. And that's a monthly occurrence. If someone's lost, we're deploying the plane. We're going to go find the lost child or the lost adult or whoever we're dealing with. So our plane program is very effective and efficient for the state of Iowa. Our crisis negotiators are very busy. We have a lot of volatility in society. I know you see it. We see it tick up near the holidays, but we deploy our crisis negotiators to go, and they're very effective at what they do to try and peacefully resolve the incidents we encounter, and they're very effective with the mission. So this is when they won a national award here a few years ago, and so we're real proud of the work they do. It's kicking through there. Oops. Be nice and easy. Our commercial motor vehicle unit, I'll talk about that a little more in future engagement. We did some realignment, which I think would be interesting. Our Honor Guard, we deploy our Honor Guard to present colors at various events throughout Iowa, and also as we lay to rest law enforcement officers and retirees from service. So they're very active. When we first deployed them, they wore uniforms from the 60s that were actually issued to state troopers. So that's a pretty neat little piece of history. So we want to maintain that history. Sergeant Dinkle leads our public resource officers. We have them in the school districts across Iowa. We talk about safety and education, and we have one in each district. We do school bus inspections, but our goal is to educate youth on safe driving behavior and make sure our school buses are safe as they transport our kids to and from school. Big events they do are State Fair. This is a seatbelt convincer. We deploy it. It simulates what it's like to have a seatbelt on in a crash, which is a good learning tool. RAGBRAI is a huge event for our public resource officers. They direct traffic all the way across the state of Iowa to make sure people get where they need to go safely. So Sergeant Dinkle does a fantastic job. We're really proud of the work you do. We have a drug recognition program. They monitor drivers that are using things besides alcohol. There's a lot of drug impaired drivers out there, so they're specially trained to analyze whether it's prescription or illegal drug abuse and address the issue if they're impaired on that front. Our police service dog program, this is a neat picture on the bottom right. It's a little smaller, but we did a state fair demonstration we show every year. We have like 4 or 5 sessions. If you're ever at the fair and you want to see how our police service dogs interact, we'd love to have you out. But we go to the Bill Riley stage and demonstrate our dog service. But they do a lot of apprehension and drug detection throughout the state of Iowa, and they stay very busy. Technology is advancing, as you all know, in the industries you're in. We have a technical collision investigator program. We fly drones on most serious crashes, so we can clear that crash very quickly. We'll take 200 to 300 pictures topographically, stitch all those pictures together, and you create one image of the actual crash scene to scale, so you can take that to court and show the reality of what occurred at that crash scene. So very effective tool. They stay very busy measuring crash scenes across the state of Iowa. Our tactical units are very busy. If there's a lot of locals will call us when they have an armed barricaded subject that's difficult to navigate, and we'll go address the issue. Most recently, I'm really proud, in the last 6 months, Fairfield, Iowa had a large man that was impaired and intoxicated that was out of control. The local police department tried to introduce some chemical munitions to address the issue, and he wasn't coming out, so we deployed our personnel and ended up going in, and ultimately they tased the subject, got him into custody, but he was out of control. So we will deploy our resources to some of the most volatile situations that we have here in Iowa. We do have a vehicle theft unit, so they'll inspect vehicles from theft, look at VIN numbers, evaluate the work being done there. So as we come towards the end, so I just want to give you an idea of some of the other things we do beyond the road traffic and safety enforcement. And as we get ready to close out and ask for questions, I want to talk about alignment of resources. One thing we did here in Iowa is we had a motor vehicle enforcement unit. It was based in Ankeny, and there were 98 sworn positions. So they were a separate state entity. Well, what the administration decided to do, which is I think a really good thing, they brought them into the Iowa State Patrol. So we have a whole new commercial motor vehicle unit wing. We aligned resources so we're more effective and efficient. We cross-train on the industry with commercial motor vehicles and brought them into the fold. So it's been an effective transition. We did that in June of 2023, so we're about a year and a half into the transition. One thing we can have your help on, obviously we mentioned session, session just started. One thing we're really working on is hands-free legislation. We've been working on it for several years because in Iowa right now, there's a texting law that's very, very difficult to enforce. Most 30-plus states have a true hands-free bill where your phone cannot be in your hand. You can one-touch it. So the beautiful thing is you can set it in a holster. You get a call, you can push the button, you can talk through the audio, okay? But it would prohibit your phone to your ear, it'd prohibit you from texting, but the things we see are amazing. I mean, we have, we did a demonstration for the legislature last night of 6 crashes this last year in Iowa, fatality related, that were directly related to distracted driving. And it is prevalent. Crossing the center line on their phone, Snapchatting, taking a vehicle head on and killing 2 other people. That just happened in southern Iowa. In northwest Iowa, we had a kid, 22 years old, I'd say kid, a young man, Snapchatting, hits a bus, flips it on its side. Thank God no one was killed. But we're seeing these distraction-related crashes more and more frequently. So one thing we're working on, we've got a coalition, it's End Distracted Driving Iowa Coalition. And Missouri, Illinois and Minnesota seen a 30 and 20% reduction in crashes. So in Iowa, we have about 56,000 crashes a year. Can you imagine the lives we will save when we get this passed? And also the injuries and crashes we'll prevent. So we've got the Iowa Motor Truck Association, the insurance industry, Mid-American Energy. There's a host of entities, and if you would like to have this information, we'd be more than happy to share it with you. But it's a very important topic to us because we know we're going to save lives moving forward, and you see it. I'm sure when you're driving to where you're going, you're seeing people on their phone, and it's something we have to address and get ahead of. So any support you can provide to that would be greatly appreciated. One other thing we're really monitoring close on future is automated transportation. So I work with Director Marler with the Iowa Department of Transportation. I'm the Public Safety Enforcement Chair for the Iowa Automotive Foundation for Automated Transportation. So we work with the University of Iowa. There's a Driver Safety Research Institute over there. And we're looking at ADAS systems, which is Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, like lane departure, lane maintaining systems. And then we're also monitoring automated driving system, which is true automation. We are working with companies, and we're aware of there's vehicles, as you mostly know, I'm sure you do, that are fully autonomous. They can drive to and from where they need to go in a totally autonomous fashion, and we're going to start seeing that in Iowa. So just so you know, we're getting prepared. A lot of things we're looking at is roadway markings, roadway width, what routes they will take. We'll make sure, with the DOT that the local areas that are affected are educated on what that looks like. But automation is definitely coming here in the next few years, and we're going to continue to monitor that very closely. Last thing I want to mention before we open it up to questions is our 90th anniversary is July 28th. We're super excited, 90th anniversary of the Iowa State Highway Patrol, and we're going to put together some memorabilia, a yearbook, and really celebrate our history and what Iowa offers the community. We're honored to serve you. I'll tell you, we really appreciate and enjoy what we do, being able to try and make our roadways safer and help you get to and from your destination in a safe fashion. With that being said, we'd love to answer any questions that anybody might have. Yes, sir.
What's your role regarding human trafficking?
Great question. The question was, what's our role regarding human trafficking? So we have a multi-phase approach. So we work with the Department of Public Safety Intelligence Bureau. So we have an intelligence bureau that tracks crime trends globally and specifically in Iowa. So there's a human trafficking branch in there. We also have our commercial motor vehicle unit that we brought in. We talked about, we applied for a human trafficking grant. So we work with the trucking industry to really work behind the scenes to evaluate current trends and address the problem. I'll tell you, we do covert operations with local jurisdictions to address that problem on the human trafficking front. So we'll continue to work on that, but I would say our DPS intelligence and our commercial motor vehicle unit addresses that, and we do educate our troopers on what to look for as they do their job. Great question. Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. And I was looking up some of your history. You guys have lost 14 state patrolmen, right? 2 in the line of duty. So I just appreciate what you guys do, because I know you guys put your lives at risk for us every time you pull someone over. My questions are going to go to the autonomy driving. We were just talking about automobiles today, and my truck will drive me to work and home, and I don't ever touch anything. I get in the car, right? So then, of course, everybody will ask me, so how does that work if you're drinking? So I'm assuming, so twofold. One is the car doesn't let me text, right? So if I want to use full autonomy driving, there's this camera in the front, and if it can't see your eyes with the hat on, it'll disengage. And when it can see your eyes, if you pick up your phone, it'll force you to put your phone down, and then if you get too many warnings, it'll block you for like 10 days, right? That you can't use it. So it seems to be safe, almost safer. It's like when I use it, I text less. I'm on my phone less because it doesn't want me on my phone. But there's that whole drinking, driving component that I find intriguing. Not that I want to do that.
I'm going to try and answer. I'm going to try and tell you what the question is and try then answer it. I love it. I think the question is, if I'm in a fully autonomous vehicle and drinking and driving, what does that look like? And then the whole correlation of safe driving behind an autonomous vehicle. And you know, if you're operating the vehicle, they're going to assume that you're in control of it, which I'm sure you know that. And
Yeah.
we're excited about the technology you're talking about because it's going to create a safer environment, and we're seeing it. You know, you have the ADAS versus ADS systems, and the fully, I mean, it's amazing these vehicles can drive just like yours to and from with no driver, you know, in control. So we're monitoring it very closely, and I think Iowa is going to, without a doubt, see some of that technology coming in on the industry front as well. And we'll do our best to prepare and once again educate everybody on what that looks like. Thank you. Yes, sir.
There was an article last week, and it gave you speeds that you 140 all the way up to 160. What kind of vehicles are those people driving?
Yeah, that's a great question.
So, I did ask
Sarge,
actually.
come on up.
Yeah, here I'll.
Come on up. So Sergeant Dinkla does a lot of our posting on social media, and we'll work to address that specifically.
So the question was, is some of those high speeds, what type of vehicles are those? So I do track a lot of that high speeds. I get sent to me from the different troopers, some of those vehicles with speed. So if you see any of our social media, you know what I'm talking about, where I posted it with the radar and then it maybe has a vehicle in it. And honestly, that's kind of one of the fun things about posting that online is some of the people are really fast to identify what vehicle was it, you know. No, it's not the Lamborghinis, no, it's not the Ferraris, it's not those fancy sports cars. These are legit everyday driving vehicles. And one of our prior majors just reached out to me. He's doing a class at Des Moines Christian here. And so he was going to talk about some of the high speeds, and he asked me this last year what was the highest speed, and I told him the 164 in January. I just looked that one up yesterday. That was a Dodge Durango is all that was. It was just an everyday driver. It was a driver out of Texas. It was up on Highway 20 up by Cedar Falls. So that's the type of vehicles we're seeing. Just everyday vehicles that you or I drive. It's nothing specialty. It's no souped up sports car. And so that's one of the things that's scary about when people are driving that fast in everyday vehicles. Those aren't high, you know, equipped with fancy suspensions, good tires, all that type of stuff. So it brings a lot more dangers than just driving, playing that fast.
Yeah, great question. That's something we're monitoring close. You know, the excessive speeds, like I mentioned, we literally wrote 77,000 tickets last year. It's not to, once again, be harsh, but we're trying to get the speed under control. We talk about people coming from DeWitt. You see the speed, you know. So we're trying to address the problem. That's a great question, sir. Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir.
In the winter,
You'll see storms and trucks and cars all off, and I know you tell people to slow down and take their time. You know, I drive a Jeep usually under the speed limit. And,
Awesome.
You know, but seriously, you see people with vehicles like I have, they feel they're invincible in snow or bad weather, and it is zooming away, you know. What's your continued education on that? Because, you know, people should have common sense.
Another great question. The question was like during inclement winter weather conditions, what education are we doing for those drivers that are driving too fast for the conditions? You know, one thing we work with is the DOT. We're doing signage, like the DOT plow trucks are usually doing 45 mile per hour or less, so we try and message that. I know we've done it on social media. We try and put it on the signboards, like especially in the bigger areas, like slow down. You know, snow plows 45 mile per hour. So it bothers us to see that, and we'll address it when we can. It's just very unsafe because they end up sliding out of control. We have snow plows, and now they're out of service, so it kind of compacts the problem. Yes, ma'am.
I was just interested on a related note to the speeding. I'm seeing in heavy traffic a lot more really fast switching of lanes, trying to get ahead. And I know that is creating danger, and I don't know if those are certain types of vehicles doing that, or if it's just driving behavior, but it's a marked increase in that.
Yeah, the comment and question is directly related to cars diving in and out of traffic, and one of our goals to answer what we do on that is to address the aggressive driver. We encourage our troopers too. When you see an aggressive driver, that's the one we want to, because they're not only going to be aggressive then, they're going to be doing it, you know, so we want to curb that. So on my way home, I commute to Ankeny. If I see an aggressive driver, I'm on it. It's just like we're going to address it because it has to be addressed, and hopefully we can curb that behavior. Yes, sir.
Sort of a corollary to Susan's question, Chief. A lot of us are up and down on 235 a lot. And we have the issue of the cameras, are they on, are they off? Everybody's talking about that. I hardly ever see DMPD out, or West Des Moines. And you know, I've talked to some of them, and they say, well, it's too dangerous to do a stop. Pull somebody, it's dangerous to other motorists, it's dangerous to them personally. But I rarely see your cars marked or unmarked. I don't know if they're unmarked, but I rarely see your cars. There's so much traffic out there at high speed every day. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question that was directly related to the volumes of traffic, not seeing squad cars out there stopping vehicles. One thing we try and do is we encourage them to get them off the road. Like commute times are a difficult and unsafe for everybody to stop. So like when I come in the morning, you stop a car, you disrupt a lot of things, right? I mean, brake lights, we don't want to cause a crash. One thing we encourage our troopers to do, and I've done, is get them off on a ramp. And get them off on a ramp, stop them safely, and then that way they're off, address that problem. So, you know, time of day is interesting. I just looked at fatality crash numbers. From 8 a.m. to like 1 in the morning is when we're seeing our fatalities, and that's when we're trying to address the issues. But I would just say during the commutes, we encourage our people to stop them off the interstate system, just because it really is dangerous for everybody on the interstate.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to come out.
Colonel Paul, great job. Thank you for taking your time today. Sergeant Dinka, thank you for joining us. As Will said, we greatly appreciate your service.
Thank you.
So thank you for keeping us safe. Upcoming meetings. We have Brenda Neville from the CEO of Iowa Motor Truck Association on January 23rd, 30th. We have the Harvest Academy Program Director, Taylor Smith. And on February 6th, we will know about the owners from Oak Park Restaurant. So some interesting programs coming up. So think about inviting somebody to join us. Upcoming events. We have 2 scheduled Fuel coffee meetings. That's at Freedom Blend Coffee at 9 a.m. on Tuesdays. January 21st, we will have our Greg Edwards speaking to us, CEO of Catch Des Moines. And on February 11th, we'll have Susan Voss speaking about her career. So again, please try to be there. It's great fun. Get to chat with folks in a little more of a casual setting. Also a great opportunity to bring a guest as well, so feel free to do that also. With that said, talked enough about strategy, but there's our strategy slide. Keep in mind how you can help us with those and help continually advance our numbers. Thanks to all the guests to join us today. We do have a program committee meeting right after this, so Dave Busick, I see, is back there, and we'll be holding a meeting. Dave, thank you very much for the great programs that we're having this year, just fantastic. So if you're on that committee, please join them. We are adjourned. Take care, everybody.